What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. And in this video, I'm going to be breaking down some of the important games that I thought occurred last night in Friday night's NBA action. And the first thing I want to start with is the Los Angeles Lakers getting a win over the, it looks like now, imploding Atlanta Hawks. And so yesterday was LeBron James' 38th birthday, and as a gift to Lakers fans, NBA fans, LeBron fans, he gave us 47 points, 10 rebounds, and 9 assists. He almost dropped a 47-point triple-double on his 38th birthday to get the Lakers a close, narrow victory over the Atlanta Hawks. And some of the things that LeBron is doing in year 20 are sort of unbelievable, because we never imagined that someone who would be playing this late into their career this well, because we haven't seen it before. Some of the NBA legends of the past that have played this long have not been this good and this effective. And you can make an argument today that LeBron James is still a top 5 player in the NBA, still one of the most impactful players in the NBA, a guy who just turned 38, a guy who has been called washed, and he's just proving time and time again that he's gonna stop playing when he wants to stop playing. And I think based on this rate, it looks like he can still give us another 2 to 3 years of peak basketball like this. And I just hope that the Lakers can find a way to not let this go to waste, because Anthony Davis has been in and out of the lineup as he usually is. I hate to say it, as he usually is, because it never seems like he can stay consistently healthy enough to be a consistent and reliable second option. And we've definitely seen this year that he is playing a lot better. That stretch he had when he scored 44 against the Bucks, and then he followed it with a 57, 55 point game, I forget which one it was, against the Wizards. So it's not an issue of him having that motor this year, because he's clearly motivated and he wants to show people that even he is still arguably a top 5 player in the NBA on both ends of the ball. And when you look at the Lakers and where they are, they're behind the Thunder in the Western Conference, a team that is supposed to be tanking this year and not even supposed to be a good team. And I guess the Lakers are just going to have to try and get into the playoffs through the play-in, because I don't see them making it all the way up to a top 6 seed by the time the regular season ends. And so I just want to go back to LeBron James for a second, because when you think about the greatest players of all time, the debate, the never-ending debate in the NBA, you have guys like him, you have Michael Jordan, Kareem, Kobe, whoever you guys want to argue. But LeBron's main case for being the greatest player of all time, people are going to look at his longevity and how long he has been able to sustain greatness in this league and say, look, this guy, he came into the NBA at 18. He went to 10 NBA finals. He won 4 of them. And he has sustained his peak longer than probably any other athlete that we've seen, because you could argue that he's a top 5 player. You could argue he's the best player if you want to, in terms of scoring, assisting, not defending, but you know what I mean. So that's going to be something that people look at, and a lot of people that look at it that way, they say that LeBron has, even though he has the finals losses, he doesn't have the perfect finals record like MJ or the 6 rings like Kareem, but he has sustained his peak longer than anybody else and has all the success and accolades that you could ask for. And so just a great performance by LeBron. Good win for the Lakers as they continue to sort of find themselves a little bit, trying to get back up in the standings. And so the next thing I want to move on to is the Eastern Conference, and I want to talk about Giannis and the Bucks, because Giannis did something that was pretty significant yesterday against the Timberwolves. He became the second player since Moses Malone to have back-to-back 40-point, 20-rebound games. The first one was in an overtime loss against Chicago, and then the second one came last night in the Bucks win over the Timberwolves, who were without Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns. You have to mention that. But he also became the third player in NBA history to have 40 points, 20 rebounds, and 5 or more assists in back-to-back games. The only other guys who have done that are Wilt Chamberlain and Elgin Baylor, and when you're in a conversation with those guys, you know you're doing something pretty good. Just like Jokic was. He was the only one, along with those 2 guys, to have a 40-point, 20-rebound triple-double. And so the Bucks snapped a 4-game losing streak yesterday against the Timberwolves, They lost to the Cavs, the Nets, the Celtics, and the Bulls, all Eastern Conference teams that are going to be considered teams that they're going to have to go through. Maybe not the Bulls, but we'll see how they progress as the season goes on. Teams that they're going to have to go through if they want to get back to the NBA Finals and try and win a second title in this Giannis era. And when I look at Milwaukee, the two main things are they have to get healthy. They have to get Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton back in the lineup playing consistent basketball with Giannis. And then they got to start knocking down some three-point shots, because during the losing streak, the main thing that Bucks fans and NBA fans notice is that they're getting wide open looks with Giannis on the court, getting all this attention in the paint, and they're not knocking them down. And that's going to be something come playoff time that it's going to need to happen. And the Bucks' three-point shooting already drops off in the playoffs from regular season to playoff, but the fact that they're already kind of struggling and looking very pedestrian from three-point range, I think is something to look out for. Maybe not get too worried about yet, but it is something to look out for. But I think they do have reason to be optimistic. They're still the number 2 seed in the East, despite all these struggles. They're going to get healthy. They got Joe Ingles back in the lineup. Yesterday, he had 14 and 8 or 10 assists, so he's proving to be a guy off the bench who can maybe become a second playmaker, maybe take those George Hill minutes, I don't know. But he looked pretty good yesterday. And once they get healthy, I think they will sort of get rolling a little bit. Chris Middleton, he was kind of hot and cold in the games he did play, but hopefully he comes back fully healthy and ready to be that all-star level player that he has proven to be in his career. And so the next game that I want to talk about is the Philadelphia 76ers versus New Orleans Pelicans, a game that the Pelicans did win yesterday, thanks to, of course, Zion Williamson, who went for 36, but it was also CJ McCollum, who had a great game as he set the New Orleans Pelicans franchise record for three-point makes in a game with 11. And I just want to talk about the Pelicans because they have a very great dynamic this year, with Zion as the guy who's going to get everything going, the leading scorer on the team, getting things going in the paint. He's going to get everyone's attention on defense. They're going to be saying, how do we stop Zion Williamson? How do we keep him out of the paint? How do we make him less of a focal point than he already is? And now that he's back playing healthy basketball, he just looks like himself, the guy that came out of Duke as the number 1 overall pick, who was going to be a generational talent in the NBA that teams could not pass up on. They could not afford to not get this guy in the draft. And we saw why when the Pelicans won the draft lottery, their draft war room went absolutely insane, because they knew this is the type of player they were going to get. They knew that this is what was to be expected. And you just look at the dynamic they have. They have guys, obviously Zion, but they have CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram, who are elite scorers in this league. And if you look at what the Pelicans have been doing, they're number 1 in the West right now, and Brandon Ingram hasn't played a basketball game in basically a month due to a toe injury. And then you look at other guys on their team like Jose Alvarado, Herb Jones, who are getting it done on the defensive end. It looks like Willie Green has figured out a way to get this unit to mesh, and he knows how to use these players to get them to play the best basketball that they can. And this all started last year in the postseason when they got that 1-8 matchup versus the Suns and gave Phoenix trouble. Phoenix had the best record in the league last year, and they struggled with the Pelicans in that first round series and nearly lost that series. And they did lose to Dallas in the second round, so maybe the Suns just weren't ready for that playoff round, or they just weren't as good as we thought they were. But New Orleans did give them trouble, and Zion Williamson barely played last season. So now that he's back and fully healthy, they're kind of like a West version of the Bucks, because he's a guy who can attack the paint, get whatever he wants inside, but then he has creators in Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum, just like Giannis does, and Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton, who can get their own shot, and then outside shooters that can knock down threes. And if the Pelicans get, let's say for argument's sake, that they keep this 1 seed, or they end up with like a top 3 seed and they can get home court advantage for the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, they're going to be a really tough out, because the city of New Orleans has been waiting for meaningful playoff basketball to come back. And if they can wrap their arms around a team that is number one in the West, number 2 in the West, number 3 in the West, whatever, they're going to be very excited. And I think that the Pelicans are going to be a very tough out for whoever they face. I would not be surprised if they maybe made it to the Western Conference Finals, or who knows, maybe even win the West, because the West isn't looking as dominant as it has been over the last few years. And you have teams like the Warriors who are dealing with injury. They're trying to sneak their way back into the playoff picture, and then you have the Suns, who are going to be without Devin Booker for maybe the next month because of an injury. And then when you look at the Grizzlies, Ja Morant saying that he's fine in the West when they lost to the Warriors badly on Christmas Day with no Steph Curry and got obliterated by the Nuggets. It looks like they're a team that they might not make it out. So yeah, the Pelicans are going to be a very tough out. Let me know what you guys think about the NBA so far, awards predictions, all-stars, stuff like that. Thanks for watching this video, and make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and find all my content linked in the description.